Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So in this video we're doing a homebrew subclass for D&D, and specifically one where we convert a video game class or character into a subclass in D&D. Now this video will be my first departure of this series from Deep Rock Galactic, and we are going to be covering a new video game that has just come out called Lords of the Fallen. No, not that Lords of the Fallen, the other Lords of the Fallen. Now, the first thing you might be thinking or asking yourself is, well, Mimic, how are you going to do a subclass for Lords of the Fallen if all of the characters are custom builds in Lords of the Fallen? Well, my distinguished viewer, we will be doing a build that is built around sort of emulating the lantern in Lords of the Fallen, because that is the one thing that will be consistent across all characters in Lords of the Fallen. The Umbral lamp in Lords of the Fallen is a mechanic that everyone gets to use no matter what character you are playing. So we will be trying to simulate that Umbral lantern in D&D. So without further ado, let's discuss the subclass for today's video, which is for Paladin in Dungeons & Dragons, and it is called Oath of the Umbral Crusader. So starting off, let's first cover the description as well as the tenets of this oath. Oh, and if you see somebody behind me hanging up posters or something, that's just my simulacrum that I had an evil wizard make for me. The intent being to sort of make my life easier and also make just making these videos easier. So just ignore them.
Your flesh has been made sacrosanct with the mark of the Dark Crusaders. Prove yourself worthy of this gift.
The Oath of the Umbral Crusader draws its power from the mysterious and enigmatic realm of the ethereal plane. These paladins are dedicated to safeguarding the balance between the mortal world and the ethereal realm, ensuring that darkness and light coexist harmoniously. They have honed their abilities to peer into the ethereal plane, stepping into the shadows that bridge the realms, and at times even drawing upon the essence of souls to serve a greater purpose. The Oath of the Umbral Crusader is guided by a set of tenets that reflect their commitment to maintaining the balance between the material and ethereal realms. I pledge to seek the truth that lies beyond the mundane world. I shall peer into the ethereal plane to reveal hidden secrets and mysteries, never fearing the unknown. I strive to maintain a balance between the material and ethereal realms, embracing the shadows as part of the natural order. I shall protect both realms from undue harm and maintain their equilibrium. I promise to safeguard the ethereal plane from those who would misuse its power, standing vigilant against those who seek to manipulate and control souls for their own gain. I pledge to transcend the limitations of my own mortality, for my connection to the ethereal plane grants me insights and resilience beyond the ordinary. I will use these gifts to protect and heal those in need. So that is the description and the tenets for the Oath of the Umbral Crusader. Those are there simply to just give you flavor and also to guide sort of your idea of what exactly the oath is that you took when undertaking this subclass. So now let's move on to talking about some of the extra spells that you get as part of this oath. At 3rd level of Paladin, you gain the Bane and Unseen Servant spells. At 5th level, you gain the Darkness and Misty Step spells. At 9th level, you get Blink and Clairvoyance. At 13th level, Greater Invisibility and Secret Chest. At 17th level, Contact Other Plane and Hollow. So those are the extra spells you get, and all of these spells were picked specifically because they are themed towards the sort of ethereal plane situation that this subclass has going on. So if you haven't guessed already, the way I'm going to be simulating Umbral from Lords of the Fallen is through the ethereal plane in D&D. And the reason for this is because in D&D there isn't really any other plane of existence that directly overlaps with the material plane except for the ethereal plane. When you're in the ethereal plane in D&D, you're able to actually see the material plane and travel around through it like a ghost. The only creatures able to see you from the material plane are creatures with true sight when you're in the ethereal plane. But moving on from there, let's now cover the Channel Divinity that you get as part of this subclass. These two Channel Divinity options are going to very much simulate your Umbral Lantern from the Lords of the Fallen. So let's get into it. Gaze Beyond. You use your Channel Divinity to peer into the border ethereal. As an action, you can choose a number of creatures you can see within 30 feet of you, up to a number equal to your Charisma modifier, a minimum of 1 creature. For 10 minutes, you and the chosen creatures have 60 feet of true sight, allowing you to see in normal and magical darkness, see invisible creatures and objects, automatically detect visual illusions and succeed on saving throws against them, perceive the original form of a shape changer or a creature that is transformed by magic, and see into the ethereal plane within that same range. Soulflay. Immediately after you deal damage to a living creature with your Divine Smite feature, you may choose to channel Divinity as a bonus action to extract the creature's soul from its body. You pick an unoccupied space within 30 feet and tether the creature's soul to that location, causing a ghostly image of the creature to appear. While the soul is tethered this way, the creature it came from can still act as usual and is resistant to all damage. The soul of the creature occupies space of the same size as the creature it came from. Its AC is the same as the creature it came from minus your Charisma modifier, a minimum of 1. It has infinite hit points, fails all saving throws, is immune to all conditions, and has no damage immunities, resistances, or vulnerabilities. The soul cannot move, cannot be moved, and cannot act. The soul remains until the end of your next turn, and then vanishes as it returns back to the creature that it came from. If the creature the soul came from dies, the soul immediately vanishes. When the soul returns, any damage that was dealt to it is immediately imparted onto the creature. So these 2 Channel Divinity options that you get here are going to very much represent what the Umbral Lantern can do at a base level in Lords of the Fallen. The Gaze Beyond feature here is trying to represent when you hold up your lantern and view into Umbral. So this is going to let you have true sight, which allows you to view into the ethereal plane, as well as give you a number of other really good benefits. And not only that, but you can share this feature with some allies up to your Charisma modifier. So this is a very cool feature, and you don't really see true sight given to players all that often in D&D, so this is a pretty rare thing to have, and is going to really make this subclass be set apart from other subclasses. Now, the Soulflay Channel Divinity here is really sort of the main thing, the main ability as part of this subclass. This Soulflay feature is very much the Soulflay that you can do in Lords of the Fallen. It extracts the soul from the creature and places it somewhere visible to you and your allies so that you guys can then hit it and do damage to the creature. Now, at first you might be a little confused as to why the Soulflay feature is so good, because it does give resistance to all damage to the creature that you took the soul from. Well, in reality, the reason this is so good is because this allows you to essentially have 2 copies of the creature to attack, as well as give you a lot of control over the resistances of the creature. So the soul has a set armor class. It's 16 minus your Charisma modifier. So it's a very controllable armor class that you can set. If you have a dragon or something you're fighting that has a 20 armor class, you can rip its soul out, and if you have a +3 to your Charisma, this soul has a 13 AC. Making it way easier for your allies and you to hit. And on top of that, the soul does not have any resistance or immunities to damage. So if you and your party are struggling to do damage to a creature because of an immunity or a resistance, and you really want to do that type of damage, you can do this Soulflay, and for at least a little bit, you and your allies are going to be able to do the damage you want to do. And one of the biggest things as part of this is the fact that the soul and the creature it came from can both take damage. Now, of course, the creature is resistant to all damage, but the soul isn't. So if you fire an AoE spell, like a fireball, and it hits both the soul and the creature that the soul came from, both of them take damage, and the soul automatically fails its saving throw, so it's guaranteed to take full damage. And if the creature that it came from fails its saving throw too, then that's essentially a 1.5 times modifier on the damage of your spell. So this Soulflay feature has a lot of utility, a lot of versatility, and is going to be a really key thing that you and your allies tend to take advantage of in fights. It only lasts for 1 round, but that round will be a huge round for you and your allies. Overall, this Soulflay feature, I'm very proud of it, and I really think that this is a very awesome part of this subclass, probably the best part of this subclass. And a little bit later, we're going to get some more use out of that Soulflay, but for now, let's move on to talking about the 7th level aura that we get. And that aura is called Aura of Etherealness. You emanate an aura that causes you and nearby friendly creatures to exist in a constant flux of having their soul flickering in and out of the ethereal plane. You and any ally within 10 feet of you gains resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical attacks. When you reach 18th level in this class, the range of this aura increases to 30 feet, and also grants resistance to any source of bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. So like all other oaths, we get an aura here at 7th level that then increases in its range at 18th level. Now, this damage resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing is similar to like a barbarian's rage, except for the bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing cannot be magical. If the damage comes from a magical source like a spell or a magical weapon, then it bypasses this resistance. However, this is only 7th level when you get this ability, and at 18th level, this ability not only gains extra range, but it also now negates that whole magical bypass of your resistance. At 18th level, it covers all magical attacks that do that type of damage. So overall, this aura is really good and is just going to make you and your allies a lot harder to kill. So moving on from there, let's talk about the 15th level ability that you get as part of the Oath, and that is Umbral Eyes. You gain 30 feet of true sight permanently. Additionally, any creatures within your range of true sight vision have disadvantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws against your spells. So with this 15th level feature here now, you permanently gain True Sight. Now, it's a bit of a shorter range True Sight, shorter than your Channel Divinity, but it will always be there, and whenever creatures are within that True Sight, they have disadvantage on the mental saves against your spells. And what's more, the ability specifies that they get that disadvantage when they're within your True Sight range, meaning if you did use Channel Divinity to get a 60-foot range, then that would extend the range at which that enemies have disadvantage on those saving throws. So a pretty neat ability, and having True Sight all the time is just very cool and very thematic and really fits in with this character, as well as just gives you sort of like an always on Umbral Lantern from Lords of the Fallen. So moving from there, let's talk about the final ability as part of your Oath, the 20th level ability called the Dark Crusade. You can fully merge yourself with the ethereal plane and connect with living souls. As a bonus action, you gain the following benefits for 1 minute. You have True Sight out to a range of 1,000 feet. As a reaction, when an ally you can see starts their turn, you may momentarily soul flay a creature that's within 30 feet of you, ignoring the Divine Smite damage requirement. A soul flay done this way lasts until the end of the triggering ally's turn. Your soul enters the ethereal plane, while your body remains in its current plane. You have resistance to all damage and are incapable of being charmed or frightened. You do not gain these benefits while your body is in the ethereal plane. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So this is your 20th level feature here, so of course it's meant to be a little overpowered, as are all 20th level subclass features. Now the benefits you gain from this are pretty cool. The 1,000 foot range of True Sight means that you basically always can see into the ethereal plane regardless of how far you're looking. I mean, in theory, your eyes can see for miles if you had a horizon to look out upon, but actually making out objects doesn't go quite that far. So for the most part, your True Sight is almost as good as your actual vision. Which also means that basically any spell you cast that has a wisdom, intelligence, or charisma saving throw, the enemies have disadvantage on it. Now the second part of this ability is the really cool part, and that's that as a reaction you can soul flay a creature within 30 feet of you without doing smite damage to activate it. And you do this as a reaction when an ally you can see starts their turn, and the soul flay lasts until that ally's end of their turn. So this is almost sort of like a little quickened soul flay that lasts for a little short period of time. You can just quick soul flay when an ally that you think is going to take advantage of it is starting their turn, have the soul be pulled out of the body for that character's turn, and then the moment that their turn ends, the soul goes back in. Now this is such a cool ability because this paired along with your Channel Divinity is going to allow you to, at 20th level here, just be soul flaying constantly on the battlefield, making this subclass just feel super cool and super thematic. And it would just be fun to be a 20th level character just to use this ability all the time because it's so cool. And then the final part of this is that you gain resistance to all damage, can't be charmed or frightened, because your soul is in the ethereal plane while your body remains on its current plane. This is obviously really powerful, as all 20th level abilities are supposed to be. And the only catch to this is that your body just can't be in the ethereal plane when you use this to get this benefit, which is rarely ever the case unless you're using something like a blink spell, but you come back to the plane you were on after the blink spell ends. So in reality, you'll always have this damage resistance for the most part when using this ability. So that was the Oath of the Umbral Crusader, a homebrew subclass that I've made for Paladins in D&D that converts the Lords of the Fallen Umbral Lantern into a subclass in D&D. As always, check the description for a link to D&D Beyond where you can view and add this subclass to your character. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of this subclass and things you'd like to see in the future. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in Axiom.